It seems like spend a lot of time speaking about the will of God, right? Speak of the will of God, then I speak of the will of my Father, right? And it's like that's one thing. Now, what life has kind of led me in certain ways, I can explain how that was involuntary, right? How life kind of said something a bit different. It said, well, what if we lived in a matrilineal society? I won't get into those details of what that means, right? The herd of elephants, Barack Obama, Kenya. Like we don't live in a matrilineal society. Okay, we don't. Now the issue here is about what I'll call my mother's love, right? What about your mother's will? I'd rather say my mother imparting her life to me. Okay, I'd rather say that. So I guess I can have a sense of what life was like for her and what her opinions are and how she sees things. And at least be aware of that as per what I think my life looks like, to my parents, especially my mother. Now, of course, there are all sorts of memories, right, that come about. Of course, I say my subjective experience, which means there aren't, other minds or other spirits that are somehow able to access my memories and then characterize my memories and color my memories the way they like them to be, the way they like me to see and understand my own life or my own past. An interesting thing happened maybe yesterday or so, where the day before yesterday, where I was sitting in my armchair, as all of you are maybe familiar with, right? And what happened is that I had another spiritual experience where there was like an invisible body that came out of the was sitting down and then stood up and walked forward from my sitting position in the armchair. That kind of felt like my mother's body leaving my body, or a spirit body or some such. At some point, I actually started to weigh have the same weight as my own mother. Because when I was with my mother and father's house, the idea was a scale, and I would get on the scale and I'd ask my mom, like, shouldn't be. I'm about like over 200 pounds or so. I guess I could lose some weight, right? Uh, it is mysterious. So I'm trying to say that I'm different. All right, I'm different, right? I'm built different, right? There's a lot of things in life that I have to figure out. I'm gonna figure it out. Okay, it's gonna require some strategic thinking. Okay, calculations and computations, right? Some creativity, of course, and then for a dose of humor, you say, well, the solution to maybe this problem is to just ask for help, right? Which I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and go see some helpful people, right? And then the solution is also to just ask mom and dad for money. Also that's this problem where I want to take responsibility for my actions, right? But then I want to avoid disaster around the time when I accept full responsibility for my actions, right? So I love wisdom. I don't hate wisdom. You understand? And my faith, God has given to us the measure of faith, right? Like so, I believe, right? I believe in Jesus that we're gonna get the situation turned around. Okay, No, I do not hate money. Okay, I just feel as if I should always have enough, such that I can do what I wish to do. Okay, and they say if my desires of my heart are not so diametrically opposed to God's desires, then I suppose I can with more money I can just kind of look the way I want to look. Buy the type of clothing I like. Put on the tattoos I like to wear. Right. Go where I'd like to go. You know, yeah, feminist philosophy, feminist theology, right? You know, what makes a man is that's an interesting way of seeing things, right? Or an interesting way of thinking, right? What makes a man, right? I'm not made up of a bunch of like cotton candy, lollipops, Easter bunnies, rainbows, sparkles, girly stuff. I'm not made of all that. I guess I'm made of some other stuff, I want to speak of the way my brain is working because minds come from brains. Okay, I've never seen my brain before, but I know it's there. I have a mind and I use it. The only problem is that I don't really hear my thoughts unless I speak. It used to be a lot different. I used to hear my thoughts in my own head, right? Not physical sound, of course, and of course, kind of composing music, consciously, of course, aware of my musical composition. It's just that I never write anything down. Now the thing is that if you want to speak of schizophrenia and you can't hear your thoughts, I suppose that would be the solution to not just in order to say that you don't have schizophrenia. But then I just want to hear my own voice. I say when I say schizophrenia, I say mostly I'm talking clear audience. That's a psychic gift, right? To some extent, what's really going on is that I'm hearing my heart or I'm hearing in the spirit. Now, that's the thing, right? I suppose the world was trying to give me, or the devil, right? Was trying to give me a particular life story that was completely unnecessary. Very unnecessary. I guess it's a sick, cruel joke, I suppose. And then, of course, you have the secrets of people's hearts that I'm aware of. Mostly, the secret things that go on in a woman's heart, right? Kind of switching up libraries, right? Of my investigations as to the mysteries of like the magical world and witchcraft, whatever. I have to go into those things, right? I'm still a Christian. I believe in Jesus, right? I'm a believer. I believe in Jesus. I follow Jesus, right? But with my investigation, I said, let me go to a different library, okay? So I want to solve the, not being able to sleep problem. I don't really get sleep, right? And I've clarified, the difference between work and play. I suppose, at 30 years old, the same age when Jesus Christ started his ministry is when I also decided to, start, well, a career that I could have started quite a while ago. Right? Now, I'd like to add some intensity, to consistency. It's good to be consistent, right? But we need to add some intensity to that. Say in a system where you have a finite amount of energy, it's a matter of how much energy are we going to use to prolong, our lives, right, into the future. Longevity. Longevity is one thing, and then there's also youth. Okay, do not despise my youth. Say I'm getting older. I know I'm getting older, but like I know that I don't. My life doesn't have to be like fixed or stationary or stagnant. Like I can be moving. I can be more mobile. I can have more frequency of events and experiences in life. Okay. Uh, you know, it's good to be who you are, but then it's like to be or not to be. Let that be the question. Be who. It's about being and doing. I suppose. Eh? Love, right? You want to school me on a mother's love? My mother freaking held me for 9 months, and it's just my mom's good side and her bad side, right? Then there's these spirits that want to freaking keep on calling me a girl, calling me a girl, calling me a little boy, small boy, little girl. The purpose of that is to freaking get into my system and to start controlling me, okay? As they do in the military, right? Jesus, the way, is the truth, in the life, right? I understand the idea of the way. Okay, that's more understandable to me. Okay, because the civil engineer, right? Structural engineer, that's building roads and pathways. That's something contained within that field. And there are all sorts of reasons for it. After transferring from SUNY Binghamton and just City College, right, I took a couple of courses, took a history course, and we were learning about the Roman Empire, and I was like, they were able to prevent a lot of diseases just because of the infrastructure that they had. And I was kind of angry because during that time the Ebola virus was spreading in Africa, and there was a threat that it could spread to America, right? So it was like, with enough infrastructure, some diseases wouldn't happen. It would be a way to stop certain types of sicknesses, right? Some some infrastructure, and but then of course that wasn't enough, right? I suppose there was a anointing oil and an ultimatum from my mother and father to just pick a major, right? And that's when I started getting concerned about the sources of rivers, right? Being able to find the source of rivers. Then there's also, the death of Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. And instead of thinking so much about how he fell and how he was overthrown by the Libyan people back when I say Hillary Clitoris because she's a woman, right? Not a man. She thinks she could be doing what a man should be doing, so I call her Hillary Clitoris, not Hillary Clinton. And I say I focus more on the economic development, the development of the Libyan economy and the infrastructure as for the the water pipelines that source the water from the aquifers of the desert, so that the people of Libya can have water. That's what I focus more on, right? And then of course other motivations, right? Maybe unnecessary motivations. Desire to be for me to become for me as a wise man of the Bronx, as a sage, a spiritual healer. All sorts of different ambitions and desires, right? That really don't amount to anything, right? There must be something I can do that'll amount to something, right? See, the will of God is still the same, right? Well, I suppose is it enough to prevent other unnecessary and unwanted situations? I suppose it should. And then I'm able to say now, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, right? Well, what you ain't forbidden though, right? I mean, three very important virtues, right? peace, glory, and praise. Say, why not add William there? And why not add Samantha? That's a strictly American name. People look at me, what do they see? A Nigerian American man, right? I'm 30 years old, right? I sound more American than Nigerian. 'Cause I lean more towards the American side of things because I do want to eat the fruits of my labor and really get to know and to enjoy this country. Of course, when I finish my education and start my career and get a move on in life, right? Now, love can get complicated, okay? Expect can get quite complex when it's about rejoicing in the truth, being kind, not being envious, love conquering all. It can get complex. Okay, I'm not a psychologist, right? Like, I don't want a catastrophe. I don't want to take off all my masks. I don't want a near-death experience. Now, my love, overcomes perversion, shines a light in the darkness. My love doesn't put people to shame. My love is praiseworthy, right? I guess other people's love is different, right? Uh, that is, a man should have the weight of the world on his shoulders. I think I'll figure out what that means, later on. It's just that it is good to have some freedom, right? But not too much freedom, okay? Because then I wouldn't be taking on the responsibilities that I should have for life, right? I'm just making this video to say that I'm not under the control and the domination of certain types of spirits. You understand? Like take responsibility, and then it's a matter of avoiding disaster altogether. You want to make me know defeat, so then I can understand, so I can apprehend victory. It's not an odd way of thinking, right? You know, a lot of these libraries can get quite mysterious and I realize that it's people. There's a lot to library science, and people have been they're working at the library, and it's like there are lots of issues to work out with when it comes to attracting a female and females. I was able to say, hey, that's a possibility, right? She's a possibility, another possibility, and then my life starts, kind of affecting people. I just kind of overhear what people are saying, and it can be quite comedic, right? But I like to actually accomplish some things, right? To actually actualize it and achieve. Uh, that's a that's a dangerous proposition. I don't think so. You may want to be grateful. I'm grateful. I'm thankful. Eh? Good love, good life. It's all good, baby.